don't know how you make a film this bad with with animation.
It is the single most boring piece of animation I've ever seen. I don't vibe with the Blue Bayou, and that's why I'm giving
I
it a
don't
1
vibe
out
with the
of
Blue
10.
Bayou Crane.
Can't take it. I need to watch a good movie again.
Don't worry, I'm pulling what I'm right now. Oh no, dude! I, I swear, it won't stop playing.
Don't worry. This one is good.
This video is brought to you by Rogue Energy. When I'm up in my room editing, writing, or gaming, I love to have a good drink with me. It keeps me focused and relaxed. Rogue Energy is absolutely my go-to drink. It is much healthier than any other energy drink. It has zero sugar, it is gluten-free, and paleo-friendly. They have 16 delicious flavors available like Radiant Rush, Rocket Pop, Sour Candy, Grape Popsicle, and many more. Rogue also has hydration available with flavors like Fruit Punch, Rainbow Candy, and Strawberry Bubblegum. Head on over to rogueenergy.com to get your energy or hydration drinks, starter kits, or shaker cups, and use code BBDIZ10 for 10% off your entire order. Thank you to Rogue Energy, and again, use code BBDIZ10 for 10% off your entire order. Now, let's get back to the video.
World War II had finally come to an end, but Walt Disney still had the effects of the war to worry about. The films Walt Studios still had in development, which included Cinderella and Peter Pan, were very early in production and would require a significant amount of time to finalize. Despite these concerns, Walt knew that he needed to release at least 2 more animated features in the 1940s to ensure that his studio's name remained in the public eye.
One of these animated features, which included 2 segments based on pieces of British and American literature, was still being animated and would not be able to be released until 1949, meaning that 1948 was still left without an animated Disney film. Desperate, Walt decided to turn to a short film team, who was continuing to produce short-length cartoons designed to be played before a feature film in theaters.
Walt sat down with these artists and asked them to start to revamp these short films with the intention of including them as separate segments in a new package film, similar to the format of 1946's Make Mine Music. Because these short films would now be part of a full-length production, their individual budgets rose, bringing the total budget for this new film, called Melody Time, to $1.5 million. Additional animators were added to each segment, many of which already had preliminary drawings completed.
The significant amount of time and teamwork involved in the animation would be clear in the high-quality products of the final film. Similarly, high-profile stars could now be hired for each of these musical shorts as well, adding to the film's strength. The film would consist of 7 segments. The first of these, Once Upon a Wintertime, was performed by singer Frances Langford and had iconic Disney artist Mary Blair at the helm as the main concept artist.
Blair combined her trademark style with that of printmakers Currier and Ives to create a design intended to evoke a Christmas card. The second segment, Bumble Boogie, involved Freddie Martin and his orchestra performing a jazzy version of Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee, the classical version of which was originally considered for Fantasia. Radio star Jack Fina, who was known for his keyboard skills, was the pianist for this segment.
The third segment, The Legend of Johnny Appleseed, also involved concept art from Mary Blair. American singer and impressionist Dennis Day narrated and performed as all the characters in this sequence. During the production of the sequence, Walt insisted that the team focus on the legends surrounding the real Johnny Appleseed, and when writer Winston Hibler first read his script to Walt, Walt was brought to tears.
However, Walt supposedly scorned the music that Ken Darby had written for this segment and referred to it as New Deal music, angering Darby. Darby would be let go from the studio not long after this event. The fourth segment, Little Toot, was based on a children's book written by author Hardy Gramatke. The segment was performed by the Andrews Sisters and would be the last film the team would take part in.
During the recording, Walt and his team tried a new technique, which involved placing a completed storyboard on the wall of the recording studio while playing the score for the performers. Despite never appearing in any film after this one, Maxine Andrews described this as a very positive experience and referred to Walt as a gentleman.
Segment 5 features Fred Waring and his Pennsylvanians singing the words to Joyce Kilmer's poem Trees. The animation for this segment uses frosted cells while placing the pastel images directly onto the cells and then laminating each cell to protect the pastels, giving the animation a unique dreamlike look. This technique was invented by layout artist Ken O'Connor. The 6th segment, Blame It on the Samba, serves as a sequel to previous package films Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros. This segment stars a Donald Duck, Jose Carioca, and the Araquan Bird.
This would be the last feature film the first two characters would appear in until 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Organist Ethel Smith appears in live action alongside the animated characters, while the Dining Sisters provide backup vocals and remain unseen. This segment was originally developed for a third feature-length package film about Latin American culture that ultimately was not greenlit.
The final segment, Pecos Bill, lasts 22 minutes, nearly one-third of the film's 75-minute runtime. Singer and actor Roy Rogers both tells the story and appears in live action at the very beginning of the sequence, telling the story to child stars and Song of the South actors Luana Patton and Bobby Driscoll. Rogers' horse Trigger also appears in live action, as do Bob Nolan and his Western singing group, the Sons of the Pioneers, who provide much of the singing in the segment.
The live action characters appear in an animated landscape, while the main part of the segment, the story of fictional cowboy Pecos Bill, is completely animated. Disney legends Milt Kahl, Ward Kimball, and John Lansbury were responsible for these animated scenes. But their scenes would eventually be edited for the home video release to remove all scenes of Pecos Bill smoking. These scenes would later be restored for the Disney Plus release of the film.
Melody Time would be released through RKO Radio Pictures on May 27, 1948, well ahead of schedule, and would earn $2.6 million upon its release, making it a modest success. The song Blue Shadows on the Trail, which was one of the two songs featured in the Pecos Bill segment, was chosen by the Western Writers of America as one of the top 100 Western songs of all time.
Critics were very mixed on the film, with many praising the human stories of Johnny Appleseed and Pecos Bill, but being split on the abstract outlooks of such segments as Bumble Boogie and Trees. Modern audiences have been kinder to this film, but still often consider it far inferior to many of Disney's feature-length products.
All right, so I never thought I would say this in my entire life, but I liked a package film.
This was a good movie, with one exception, which we'll get to. The rest was incredibly high quality. It's what you would expect from Disney around this era.
So the animation is really good throughout like all of these films.
Yeah, so the two main characters are named Joe and Jenny, although it's not explicitly stated as that in the film. And they actually make a cameo in one of the most recent Mickey Mouse short cartoons. Their love stories being paralleled by two rabbits going through the same thing. And when the human lovers have a bit of a spat and they disagree, the same thing happens with the rabbits. And then everything all ends up fine when the ice breaks and the male characters have to save the female characters from a waterfall.
Yeah, and it's just a really good job of telling the story through the song that is being performed and no dialogue from the actual characters or anything, any sound from the setting or anything like that. It's just what you're expecting from a Disney short. I'm gonna rank Once Upon a Wintertime probably. These are all going to be pretty high, so I'll probably I'll give this one like a 8.
Oh, I was also going to go with an 8.
Bumble Boogie is this little bumblebee that is going through kind of like a dream sequence, and it's gorgeous animation of these instruments. The piano keys fall to the ground, and then they form like a caterpillar, and then it's supposed to be a snake at one point. And it's just really cool, and it's a really well done dream sequence, because most of the time in the package films, because the budget isn't there, the dream sequence are not done correctly. But this one was done absolutely correct.
The music, as you were saying, it's a take on Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee, but it's this upbeat jazz version.
Yeah,
and
done on
it
piano.
is so catchy, so good.
Yeah,
Excellent choice.
absolutely. I really did love this segment. It was probably my favorite out of this whole film, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that's
Wow.
surprising, but yeah, I did love this short. Really did. I'm gonna give this one a 9 though.
Okay,
Um,
okay. It's excellent. I'll go 8.5. It's not my
mhm.
favorite from the film,
Yeah.
but and I hate to say base it on the vibes, but I mean the vibes are there,
Yeah.
and the vibes are vibing. Love
Yeah.
this short. Johnny Appleseed is a young man living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he sees some pioneers headed west. He then makes a prayer to some sky wizard, and a guardian angel, who's apparently a frontiersman,
Mhm.
pops down and tells Johnny, hey, you plant apples here in Pittsburgh, you should plant apples around the whole country. And Johnny Appleseed does, and he makes friends with the animals and the settlers and the Native Americans, and then he ends up dying
Yeah.
and goes up to heaven to apparently plant apple trees up there.
Yeah. Feel good.
Songs, there's a couple of songs. There's a song about heading west, and then there's a song about
Mhm.
apples, I guess.
The both of the songs are really good.
Mhm.
Especially the Apple one. The Guardian Angel was a likable guy.
What I liked is I liked the little reference at the beginning. It starts with the classic live action storybook,
Mm.
which we really haven't seen at all in this era. A nice
No,
little
yeah, we haven't.
harkening back to like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and things like that. And we see pages from other Disney heroes that have had productions based around them, or would eventually. I don't think any of them had at this point. We see references to Paul Bunyan, John Henry, and one of my favorites, Davy Crockett. But there's
Mm.
also parts I didn't particularly care for in this film. The big parts for me being the way the Native Americans were portrayed definitely made
Yeah.
me feel uncomfortable.
There's something
And
in Pecos Bill too that is said about
Mhm.
Native Americans. So yeah, they certainly did not hold back.
Not aging well at all. The other thing I
Mhm.
didn't like is how focused on religion this segment was. It felt a little bit strange to me for a Disney movie because I know around this time the company was relatively conservative and Walt was pretty religious, but at the
Mhm.
same time, I don't know, religion in a Disney movie just doesn't work for me. So
Yeah.
despite the enjoyable storyline and the songs and the characters, that was something that I don't know, felt a little bit off to me.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you on the religion thing because you have to be very careful about that kind of stuff. And they did say they didn't really say God. They always say that he was praying to the Lord, or he said the
Mhm.
Lord in the lyric of a song. So like that can be interpreted however you want. But yeah, you really have to be careful with dealing with that kind of stuff. And there was clearly they were saying about a higher power above, and that's very Christian themes with heaven, obviously. So
Mhm.
you have to be very careful with being including.
Now let me ask you this before we give our ranking. Out of all of the segments in Melody Time that are not featured in Disney parks, I think Johnny Appleseed would make the most sense to feature in a Disney park, probably in the Frontierland area or the Liberty Square area.
Mhm.
What kind of representation for Johnny Appleseed would you want to see? Go
I would easily say an attraction or a walkthrough exhibit in the land. In
Oh,
Living with the
okay.
Land. If you theme
Oh.
behind the seeds to Johnny Appleseed, and you have somebody that is dressed as a face character as Johnny Appleseed come out or something during the greenhouse.
Mhm.
If he comes
Maybe the
out and
fall fun, like, autumn
and
festival kind of thing?
yeah, or so yeah, a festival kind of thing. Yeah, exactly.
See,
Yeah,
I was
that would be
thinking the
really
straightforward answer is just a little restaurant in Liberty Square that serves Apple-themed products,
yeah.
but, I guess something a little more in-depth is I was thinking on the, Liberty Square riverboat, you could add a Johnny Appleseed
Mm.
scene on there. Alright, what'd you rank
Um,
this segment?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Um,
I respect that. That's good.
Yeah, it's not my absolute favorite, so I don't want to give it a 9. But yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5, just because the racism it takes it down a little bit.
Okay, then I'll go 8 for Johnny Appleseed as well.
The next one that we have is a short called Little Toot, and it's about a tugboat tugging a cruise ship out of port and makes a mistake and causes a disaster in the city. So then he is basically arrested his father, who is also a tugboat, is like cast out kind of thing. He basically loses his job. And so they take little Toot down in the middle of the ocean. While he's out in the middle of the ocean where they kind of banish him, there's a massive storm, and he kind of saves one of the bigger cruise ships, or the ships, one of the bigger ships, and he brings it back to what, there's the Statue of Liberty in this, right? So it's New York City.
I think so.
Little
I mean,
Toot
what's his
might
mistake?
be,
Like he destroyed so
yeah,
much. Like Little Toot, he's more like the gangster, like Little Toot. You know, he's got like the chains around his neck, backwards baseball
yeah,
cap. Like
he
he's not a
does.
good guy.
No, he destroyed like half of Manhattan, like lower Manhattan. I couldn't get over the fact that a criminal basically was just like, oh, they were okay that he saved this guy. Like he still should. He's a criminal.
There's some creepy parts to it where the
That's true.
Little Toot is being traumatized, and like Papa Toot, he's just trying. He's a single father. He's trying to do what
Yeah,
he can to help his
trying to do a
son.
living. Yeah.
But comparing Little Toot to Pedro the Plane is the more likable anthropomorphic vehicle.
I'm giving it. I love the song. Love the
Song's
song.
so good.
But so I'm giving it a. I'm gonna give it a 5.
Whoa. Wow.
Give it a 5. I'll give it half because I like the song, didn't like the short. So
I'm gonna give it a 7 because I
okay.
thought the animation was really beautiful
That's true.
animation and a great song. So I'm gonna go 7 here. Next
So,
up is
yeah, so
the Black Spot.
We've been saying that these are good except for one. So go ahead and fill us in.
So you remember Blue Bayou, I'm sure,
I
with
do.
our good friend, Johnny Appleseed prayed to his Lord. We pray to the Blue Bayou Crane. Well, Trees does not have anything as exciting as the Blue Bayou
No.
Crane. It is one guy singing a poem
Mhm.
about trees, and the only thing
And a
that we
tech
see,
demo. For
it's basically a
their
tech
upcoming,
demo. We
yeah.
see some deer in front of trees, and then we just look at trees for 2 minutes, like
Yeah.
drawings of trees, not really animated. It's just a background shot.
Yeah. It's like if you
And
go
it's
on and look up
bad.
Pixar pencil test on YouTube, it's basically that, but worse.
But not as good because it's not
Yeah,
funny.
exactly.
Like we disparaged Blue Bayou, but at least Blue Bayou had the cranes to watch.
Yeah,
I'd
this had
rather watch a
nothing.
crane than a tree. I'm pretty sure I gave Blue Bayou a 1 when we did that, so I'm going to have to give Trees a 0.5.
Yeah, I'm giving it just straight up 0.
Oh, are we allowed to give zeros?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm giving it a 0 then.
Literally
I didn't know
giving
we
it a
could
0.
give
It's not a film. We had our thoughts about Three Caballeros, and we raved about Saludos Amigos. It's a great film.
It is a
Blame It
great
on the
film.
Samba, it does things that Three Caballeros should have done. Where Three Caballeros messed up, it makes up for it. Because it's got a great song. It's got a very talented organist in it, who we thought was Yaya, but unfortunately not. And it's got great characters. It's got the Arakuan bird, and it's got Donald and Jose. So it's like, yeah, I can vibe with this. It's all the good parts of Three Caballeros and Saludos Amigos.
Without the women chasing.
Exactly. Yeah, without, yeah.
It's good.
It's very good. Very good.
It's what the ending of Three Caballeros should have been, because it's not sexist. It's legitimately entertaining and trippy, but in a good way.
What is
Well,
your ranking?
I'm gonna give Blame It on the Samba an 8.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8 as well.
Pecos Bill, I'll say it right now. Pecos Bill's my favorite. I
Mm,
think it's a great quick service restaurant, Pecos Bill's Tall Tale Inn and Cafe over in
absolutely.
Walt Disney World. And I really like the short. It's the longest short of the film, 22 minutes. And it tells a fully fleshed out story about a young boy, Pecos Bill. He's the son of pioneers heading west, falls out of the stagecoach his family's traveling in. He's raised by coyotes, learns from the animals of the wild. Sounds a little bit familiar to Mowgli or even Kris Kringle in the Rankin Bass film, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Gains all these skills, finds a horse that he saves. I think Winnemaker was the horse's name.
Yeah.
And then ends up becoming a cowboy, performs all these great tasks, falls in love with a woman named Slewfoot Sue, but his horse is very jealous. And then
he's
finally
loyal too. He keeps his horse with him for his entire life.
absolutely, like very loyal. But
Mhm.
when the horse feels like he's being upstaged, the horse finds a way to get rid of Slewfoot Sue and sends her bouncing up to the moon. And then finally, the distraught Pecos Bill goes off into the wilderness with his horse. It's very tragic,
Yeah, it
but very
is.
beautiful.
It
It's
is.
told by Roy Rogers in some brief live action sequences. And there's two main songs, Blue Shadows on the Trail, and then the main Pecos Bill, I think Ballad of Pecos Bill. And they're both, in my opinion, the best songs of the movie. They're so catchy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Pecos Bill, you can really understand him as a character, which in shorts, it's very hard to do because of the amount of time that you have to tell the story. But you can understand that he never had a proper, or up until like the age of what would you say how old he was? Like probably 6, 7 years old or something. Um,
Probably.
that he fell out of that wagon and then he was raised by the wolves. So he never really had a proper family. And you can understand why then all of a sudden, when he meets another human that finally loves him after years of only having these animals that kind of love you and doing these things and kind of like I assume save some humans along the way. He's doing all these things because he never had that love in his life. When he finally meets the love of his life in Sue, and then having that ripped apart from him, you really feel for the guy and you really understand what the character is going through throughout the short.
Yeah,
Truly
my
great film.
favorite part was during the Ballad of Pecos Bill. When we were watching it, I compared it to Zero to Hero from Hercules. I love that sequence so much. The only part that I don't like, which as we alluded to earlier, and I think we have to address, is how the Native
Absolutely.
Americans are portrayed. This is really the only portion of how Native Americans are portrayed in this segment, but
Yeah.
they're shown as being very warlike. The part where apparently Pecos Bill, according to the film, scared them out of their war paint and
Yeah.
created the painted desert.
There's
That
a,
part's
there's a
not fun to watch.
there's a part in the script where the kid calls them, it's not really it's kind of one of those where it's kind of like it's the I word. I don't really want to say it because it's not really like acceptable anymore to say, so I don't obviously want to say it on YouTube.
Yeah, what are you gonna rank it, Dan?
Well, I'm gonna bump up my Bungle Boogie ranking to a 9.5 and then give Pecos Bill a 9.
So am I. Also
Because
gonna give this a 9. I'm gonna have to say overall, I agree entirely. With the exception of Trees, Melody Time is a fantastic movie. It makes me want to devote time to the melodies in it. The songs
no.
are so
Well,
good.
but
And I do
trees and
think it's
also
my second
trees
favorite as well.
trees serves a purpose because it gives you a little time to get a snack and everything like that in
Gives
like the
you a
middle of the
bathroom break,
movie.
yeah.
So yeah, it's like the perfect time to go do that. So Ryan, where can we find you? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so you can check me out at Cases of Continuity on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm currently on hiatus. I've been really, really busy lately, but I am hoping to return to my journey through the Sherlock Holmes book series probably in the next few weeks or so. So be on the lookout for my conclusion of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes and continuing through that. I look forward to continuing on that journey. Again, Cases of
Absolutely.
Continuity.
Absolutely. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing. It would make me a very happy man. And if you guys have seen this movie as well, and if you really like it, let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you actually go watch it because unlike the other ones that we've seen. And I will see you in the next one. Have a magical day, everybody.
Watch Beyond the Glass.